Hey guys, tonight we slip back through the fog of time to a place where life is muddy, the bread is stale, and your survival chances are, let's be honest, absolutely dismal. Picture this. The year is 1347, and you wake up on a straw-stuffed sack in a one-room cottage. The roof leaks, a chicken just laid an egg on your pillow. You're not rich, you're not powerful, and you're definitely not clean. You are a medieval peasant, and spoiler alert, you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, leave a comment with your location and local time. I love seeing how far this sleepy little village of ours stretches. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge barefoot out of your hovel just after dawn, scratching at the flea bites you've learned not to notice. Your breath puffs in the cold, and you brace yourself for another day of bending your spine until it creaks like an old church pew. Your name isn't written down anywhere. Why would it be? You were born to farm land you don't own, to bow to men you don't vote for, and to, maybe, just maybe, make it past 30. The village around you smells earthy. That's the polite way to say it stinks. Animal dung, human waste, rotting thatch, and whatever died in the well last month. And still somehow, your nose adjusts. The small homes squat around a central muddy path, chickens cluck in confusion, and the communal oven still glows faintly from last night's shared baking. You glance at the manor on the distant hill, a looming reminder of whose boots your taxes grease. You're not alone, of course. The whole village rises with the sun. Children chase each other through muck. Old men mutter to themselves while weaving baskets. Women haul water in buckets that slosh over thin skirts. There are about 150 of you, give or take a few that disappeared last winter and were quietly not replaced. And there's always work. Always. If it's not planting or harvesting, it's repairing fences, digging trenches, or mending that cursed thatch roof again. Sundays are your only official day of rest, but let's be real. Rest means catching up on chores you didn't finish and listening to sermons that promise hellfire for stealing a turnip. You'd think with this much collective suffering, people might form a workers' union. Instead, they gossip, constantly. The baker's daughter wore red on a Tuesday. Scandal. That new widow has a mole shaped like a serpent. Witch. You cough twice at church and suddenly 3 people won't sit near you. Community, a double-edged sword. But there's safety in it too. When your roof collapses mid-snowstorm, 6 neighbours come to help patch it. Some out of kindness, others to make sure your collapsed roof doesn't lower the value of their hovel. You share tools, stories, and once in a while, boiled hedgehog. Historians still argue whether peasants were truly powerless or secretly pivotal. Sure, you pay taxes in grain and chickens, and yes, you're bound to the land unless you can flee without being caught. But you're also the one growing the food, weaving the cloth, building the barns. The world runs on your labor. Just don't expect a thank you note. Sometimes you dream of other places. Not heaven. Heaven is too far away, too filled with judgment and saints glaring at your patched tunic. You dream of cities, towns where merchants sell cinnamon and streets are paved with stone. Maybe there's a place where you don't have to kneel every time the steward rides by. But dreams cost nothing, and you still have to muck the pigs. The funny part is, you laugh a lot. Not ha-ha luxury laughter, but the brittle, wheezy kind that keeps your ribs from folding in on themselves. Someone tells a filthy joke about the miller's goat, and for a moment, your breath doesn't feel so heavy. A neighbour falls face first into the mud and gets up cursing the Virgin Mary's toes, and it's the highlight of your week. Quirky historical tidbit. Some peasants believed your body expelled evil through your left foot. So if it hurt, congratulations, you're getting holier. That explains a lot, honestly. Every day feels the same until it doesn't. The sky turns red before a storm. A stranger walks through in a hat too fine for these parts. A raven sits on your fence post and stares for hours. Signs. Always signs. You don't understand them, but you notice them. You're part of the land, like the river and the wind, and that one cow that seems smarter than the Lord's sun. And as you kneel in the dirt, planting this year's barley with your blistered hands, you feel a flicker of something unexpected. Not hope, exactly, more like stubbornness. The world doesn't want you to live, but you're doing it anyway. You've outlasted that fever 2 winters ago. You've buried children, friends, and a tooth in the field. You kneel by the hearth poking yesterday's porridge to see if it's still edible. It's hardened into a greyish lump with the texture of old plaster, but it's food, or close enough. You scrape off a chunk, toss it into a pot with a handful of wilted leeks, and stir until it loosens. Breakfast served. Your meals are repetitive but reliable, in the same way that damp is reliable. Bread, onions, cabbage, barley, repeat. Meat, only when something dies unexpectedly. Chickens are worth more alive. Cows are communal, and pigs, if you even have one, are fattened for feast days or desperate times. Your diet depends almost entirely on what the land gives and what the Lord doesn't take. When harvests are good, you get by. When they're bad, well, hope you like chewing on tree bark and pretending boiled nettles are soup. There's a reason everyone's teeth fall out by 30. Quirky tidbit. In some villages, people brewed small beer, a weak ale with barely any alcohol, just strong enough to make water safe-ish to drink. Even toddlers drank it. And you wondered why medieval toddlers were so rowdy. You slice a hunk of brown bread with a knife that's more rust than metal. The bread is dense, like biting into a roof tile. It's made of barley and rye. Wheat is too precious, reserved for the monastery or the Lord's table. Sometimes you mix in pea flour or crushed acorns, which tastes about as delicious as it sounds. A good harvest year is like a miracle. Full granaries, fewer funerals, and maybe enough to brew stronger ale. But bad years come in chains. 3 wet summers in a row, and the crops rot in the fields. A local proverb goes, "Rain for sheep, ruin for men." You'd laugh if your ribs didn't already ache. You remember the Great Famine of 1315, or rather, you remember the way people remembered it. The year the graves opened wide, old Agnes used to say, chewing her gums while staring at the horizon like it owed her something. Crops failed across Europe, roads washed out, salt fish spoiled in flooded storehouses, dogs disappeared, followed by cats, followed, allegedly, by children. Historians still argue whether those cannibalism rumours are true or just famine-fueled paranoia. But even now, when stores run low in winter, people glance sideways at their neighbours and mutter about stew. You learned early that food is time-sensitive. You dry apples on string lines near the fire. You pickle cabbage until it smells like regret. You salt and smoke whatever scraps of meat you can get and hang them from the rafters, praying no rat finds them before you do. The seasons rule everything. In spring, you eat wild garlic, fresh greens, and hope. In summer, you gorge on berries and save what you can. Autumn is full of frantic activity, drying, storing, sealing. And winter is a test, not of strength but of strategy. You ration like a miser. You count eggs before they're laid, then count again. You dig through snow to pull up frozen turnips and they taste like survival. If you're lucky, the village reeve has enough sense to enforce communal sharing. If not, you're on your own. And then there's the Lord's cut, your harvest, taxed, your chickens, taxed, your soul, possibly taxed. Some years you owe so much grain that you have to borrow from the church, which is like borrowing from a lion and promising not to bleed. But you adapt. You forage. Nettles, wild onions, mushrooms if you know which ones don't kill you. and good luck with that. Some say mushrooms grow where fairies dance, which might explain why they also make you see dancing fairies. Every village has one person who swears by secret food. They'll talk about how the roots of this weed cure hunger, or how you can roast dried thistle until it tastes like partridge. You try it once. It tastes like burnt disappointment, but hunger is not always visible. You can be walking, talking, working, and still starving. You start to dream about food, warm honey cakes, roasted lamb, stewed pears. Then you wake up to a cracked bowl of lukewarm gruel and try not to cry. Despite it all, there are celebrations. Lammas Day, when the first loaves are baked from the new harvest. St. Martin's Feast, when the pigs are finally slaughtered. You drink, you dance badly, and someone always ends up face down in the mud, claiming the Virgin Mary told them to wrestle the priest. On feast days, you eat like a king, or at least like a very minor baron. Ale flows, tables creak under the weight of shared food, and for one brief moment, no one is hungry. Those moments are why you keep going. Even the poorest homes keep some food hidden away. A crust buried in the grain sack, a strip of dried meat sewn into a cloak hem. You stash it like treasure, like memory. It's not just about hunger, it's about control. About having something in a world that takes so much away. Tonight, you sip thin onion broth by the fire. You dip crust into the warmth, close your eyes, and let the steam blur your sight.